on your own. On command, you can stay on the outside track. So when you're ready, trot on. Going to circle left, 20 metres in rising trot at B. Circle left, 20 metres. Can you come back up to B?
Oh, sorry.
Belinda, keep going and come around to B and circle left 20 metres. Circle left. HXF, change the range, showing some length and strides, sitting or rising. E, 20 metres in sitting trot. At E, circle right 20 metres rising and let the horse stretch forward and downwards. And again, circle again. Are you right? Okay. So at E, circle right 20 metres, rising and let the horse stretch. Before E, pick up the reins. Between H and C, canter right. At B, circle right 20 metres. Between F and A, trot. KXM, change the range, showing some length and strides, sitting or rising. Between C and H, canter left. At E, circle left 20 metres. Between K and A, trot. Between M and C, walk. Walk between M and C. HXF, change the rein and free walk on a long rein. And at A, circle 20 metres in in a free walk. And then Belinda, if you come up towards us, we can have a chat.
Thank you. So one of the things that I always find interesting, when now we're talking about sort of testing our young horses, is this whole discussion about how early should we start competing them. Now, I just briefly said that I'm in favor of starting training kind of early. And when I say early, it's like when they are 1.5, 2 years old. That doesn't mean that we have to break them in and they have to do dressage like this, nothing at all. But they have to do some kind of training, because there is evidence that shows us that if they start some kind of training, physical training younger, then they are more prepared as riding horses, and they tend to get less injured or injuries later on in their life and careers as riding horses. The next discussion is, of course, how early should we start competing them? And I think that's at least it's always a discussion. Some horses, now I just said we had the testing thing for the mares and stallions, which is not like a competition, but then again, it is somehow like a competition. If you look to Germany, they have what they call the Bundeschampionat, and that starts already when they're 3 years old, like a competing format where they go to a competition, go into a ring. In Denmark, we don't have that. We start them as 4 years old. We start a little bit like this. We don't have a test. That's also like turned into almost a religious discussion among people, if we think they should ride a test or they should just enter the arena. In Denmark, we just have them in teams of 2 or 3 horses, because we decided that doing a test for 4 years old is too early, especially at competitions. So that's the way we do it. It is possible for organizers to have 4-year-old tests, but we hardly don't see it in Denmark. But nevertheless, it's interesting to see the design of the 4-year-old tests. And I think now, today, we saw this, your lovely horse here. It's nice. When I sit there as a judge and watch these horses, I also sort of focus a lot on how the horses are dealing with everything. And you could see here, your horse is like very relaxed. In a way, he's kind of confident. He's trying to please you. For me, he looks like he's a pleaser kind of type. He really wants to do his best. But you could see that he was really trying to listen to you and trying to adapt to the whole situation, which is of course good, and that is a little bit what we want from them. But when you look to the test, I mean, the whole test is sort of designed in a way that we can see, of course, the 3 paces. So that we as judges, we get a possibility to see the 3 paces. It's not that it's technically very difficult, but again, for us as judges, we want to see how is the balance and how are the paces. We don't expect to see any kind of extended trots or something like that. That's not the goal at all, but we just want to see, how is the natural balance. One of what I think is a little bit difficult, and that also happens now today, is like when you do the canter down here, and then you have to go actually all the way on the long side here and then do the circle, which is actually one of the more difficult parts in this, because what we normally would do with a younger horse, or I would do, is like do the canter like in a corner, to get sort of that support, and then we would sort of immediately go into a circle. But that's not part of this test. So then you have to go onto that long side and then do the circle. And then, of course, what happened now that he kind of lost his canter, and it was a little bit like, whoa, that's kind of difficult. But that is a little bit the way the test is designed for us as dressage judges, so that we can see that they have this strength and this ability to maintain the canter. What I really do like about this horse, coming back to him, is that I think he's sort of very regular. It's a super nice horse. He looks like he's very easy to work with. If we look to his conformation, he's also, if we look to his front, it looks kind of easy for him. I thought the contact you had was very lovely. You could see that sometimes he had to depend a little bit on you, and he leaned a little bit, into your hand, which is totally normal for a 4 years old. When he's seeking sort of for some kind of support, he will lean a little bit into your hand, and that's just normal. We see that. And I think we as judges, we don't sort of, I'm not strict on that, and we will also see some horses, if they don't have the same sort of natural balance like this one, they will get a little bit short in the neck, and we shouldn't punish that. I know that we all want them to be up and out in the frame, but that's just not always possible. And especially if they get a little bit tired, they will lean a little bit into the hand. And especially going into or on a circle like this, they will automatically sort of lean into the inside and get a little bit short. That's just for a younger horse natural to do so. But I really like the trot. I think, as I said, it's very regular. It has this sort of natural swing and cadence. It's not sort of extravagant and you can see that he's still kind of depending a little bit. His hind legs, when he gets control over them and he gets sort of more lighter and can carry himself, the hind legs will come more under. But now you can just see that he gets a little bit open and out behind, but he is pushing and he is trying. You can also see that he's still depending a little bit on, what kind of tempo you choose for him, that you need to ride him a little bit more forward in order to get the expression. But that's just where he is right now. And I think what I also like is that you didn't try to put too much pressure on him. You just kind of try to, have him in a nice balanced way, sort of in front of you. So that I thought was really, really nice. And as I said, I liked the contact. He looked kind of confident. He was sort of with you, and he tried his best. I think that was really good. Of course, again, the canter, it's always, now it's a little bit forward. You don't really see this sort of, so much is what we are looking for, not so much as for 4 years old. We're more looking for the balance and the uphill tendency. He's still a little bit depending on you to support him. But I think in that way, he's sort of very, really nice type of horse. And I'm sure he will do a really good job. Did you compete now? You did one, so I don't know what the judges pointed out for you, but it's probably something, hopefully something along what I said here, that he just needs to be stronger in order to push and carry himself a little bit more. But type-wise, I think, and conformation-wise, I think it's really a nice horse, and I'm sure he will do good. And he likes to perform, or at least I think he will get there to enjoy that, to see how he's reacting to. He's feeling quite comfortable. Do you have any? Do you have any problems or any weaknesses? That, not that I want you to point them out in front of the whole crowd.
Everything we're working on him is kind of quickly.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
it was extra work today, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Everything is exactly what we know.
Yeah. And the thing is, what is interesting is, with a horse like this, how would you, because now we're talking about, making him a little bit quicker, especially behind, because he gets a little bit this tendency to get a little bit out behind instead of sort of pushing underneath him. He will just, try to, because he needs a little bit the tempo in order to get the expression also in front. I mean, have you already now started, when you say that you try to make him quicker? When
Lots of transitions,
Yeah.
forward, back,
Yeah.
and just a slight shoulder in sometimes, especially the like medium and I try to
Yeah.
do that. But just trying to get him knocked up, make him drive.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I stop kicking, he just goes there.
Yeah.
So
That's,
lots of work, We're getting at it, but it's not so especially out.
We're talking about how, in order to make a horse like this quicker, and like you said, it's a lot about transitions and doing a little bit like a shoulder in, sort of changing, I mean, within also the paces, the tempo, a little bit forward, backwards, in that way to make him quicker, and not so depending on the speed or the tempo in the pace. So, but I think he for me, that's like I like this kind of horse. He's not, like I said, extravagant in the way he moves right now, but I think he will get there, and for all like the way he's built, it's going to be like something will for sure be easier for him. And when he gets stronger and quicker, then but I mean, that might take a year or two before he gets there. Well, thank you very much for showing up here. Do you have any questions now here in regard to this horse? No questions? Or?
Hans, I have a question.
Yeah?
Well, not a question, but for the judges that are here, those of us that are young horse judges, would you offer some marks or?
Yeah. Yes, I would. So maybe, are you okay with just maybe trotting him around, like just like you did here? So as I said, when I judge this for the 4 years old, we mainly look for, of course, the regularity of the paces. And of course, we also look for potential going on as a dressage horse. And as I said, you can see that this horse is kind of depending a little bit on the rider, leaning a little bit onto the reins, which is completely normal. I won't deduct so much for that. But for me, this is sort of nice trot. Looks like it's easy to work with. The only thing is, of course, that I would pay attention to is that if his hind legs is going to be quick enough for the higher levels in dressage. But as it is right now, and maybe you could just do some kind of lengthening on the long side, on the other side. Not too much, just. And then you can see that he will push, but he will push a little bit out behind instead of sort of coming under. And he is a little bit depending on the tempo here. But for me, thinking about a mark for this one, because I think it is that's fine, you can just walk him again. That's fine, that's perfect. For me, thinking about a mark for this one would be somewhere in the region about 7.8-ish, kind of 7.7, 7.8 for the trot. But because I think there are still things to work on, and in order to get like an 8 for the trot, we needed to be quicker behind already now, even as 4 years old. Again, the walk I think is really nice. Personally, I don't like this walk on a long rein with 4 years old, because I don't like this way of not being in control as a rider. But that's just me personally. I think his walk is regular. He could maybe be a little bit more energetic in the walk, but he has enough over track as it is. So I think also the walk in itself would be sort of in the high 7s for the walk, as he is like here, very relaxed, sort of over the back, and as I said, enough over track. This is very close to an 8, like he is here. And for the canter, I would just go slightly lower for the canter today, because he is a little bit, again, depending on the tempo, the speed. And in the test today, he kind of lost the canter like once. And that we have to go down just a little bit for. So I would be on a 7.5-ish for the canter. I'm sure he has, like, when he's not tired, like today, he'll be easier to get sort of this more natural uphill tendency without having to ride so much forward. And again, for the submission mark, I would be quite high, because I really liked the way he was presented. He was presented in a nice way, really nice, steady contact. He just got a little bit short sometimes, leaned a little bit into the connection, which I think on this level is almost like normal. So I would go, and even with the small rhythm loss here in canter, I would still be kind of high for the submission mark. So I would also be on the 7.7, 7.8 for that. He was really well behaved, I think, today. And the same goes for the general impression or the perspective. I think he's a really nice horse. He looks easy to work with. As I said, he looks like a pleaser. He really wants to, and he's focused on his rider. And that's good. The only thing is, of course, that he needs to get quicker. I mean, if you want him to get to the high Grand Prix level, then he needs to be quicker behind. But I mean, a lot of these horses, they're still babies. I mean, they will develop, and I think this one has a good potential. So for the perspective, I would also be in the high 7s. Yeah. Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.